Hi, welcome to my video. This is Summer Ceramics online, so we're going to be working from home. So the first thing I'll do is I'm going to go through all the tools, and if you're missing some of this stuff in your kit, let me know, and we can leave it outside and you can come by and pick it up, or something like that. It should be pretty simple. So let's start with what will be included in the class, and then I will talk about some things that you should buy. All right, and then we're going to talk about how to deal with recycling your scraps and making sure your clay stays moist, how to store your work, recommended places to work, and making sure you clean up right, and that sort of thing. And pretty simple. I mean, I think it's very doable to make ceramics at home. I've done it many times as a young artist, and a lot of people do. All right, so we'll just start with the tools. You're going to get 25 pounds of clay, which I think should be adequate for the class. If for some reason it dries out or you go through all this, and I can't imagine you will, we can give you another small hunk of clay as well, just like any of this stuff. All right, so you're going to get some basic tools like a needle tool, a wire cutoff tool, some ribs, and a round sponge, a fettling knife, a paddle, a couple paintbrushes, a little carving tool, and a smoothing tool. All these things we'll talk about, why you'll need them, but just for now, just taking an inventory. A mixing palette for your underglazes. So you'll get primaries, black and white, and then you can mix your colors like paint and paint and decorate your work. You're going to get a 20-inch by 20-inch approximately piece of canvas. We'll need that to be rolling out slabs and sometimes making handles and that sort of thing. You'll get I think this is like 8 inches, a board to work on and then store your work on. You might need to find something else to store your work on, because you might have a couple things in progress, but this is a good place to start. And then a cardboard tube, and we'll be using this to make slab-built cups. All right, and then what you'll need to buy is these are 13-gallon kitchen trash bags. This is perfect for covering your work. It's also perfect for your scrap. And I'll talk about scrap in a minute and how you deal with your scrap. The other thing is some kind of small wooden rolling pin. You don't want to get plastic. Plastic rolling pins are going to stick to the clay. If you can find a wooden one, even if you have one at home, you can use it and wash it up. It'll still be fine to return to your kitchen if you don't, if you don't feel like doing that, you go ahead and buy one. They're cheap. Other things that might be helpful are like a spray bottle of some kind. I'm just going to grab one over here. So some sort of spray bottle, and you're going to want to get some sort of big cleanup sponge. So a trip to the hardware store or Target, Walmart or something like that, you should be able to get all of this stuff, or maybe buy it online at Amazon if you don't want to leave the house like everybody else seems to be doing anyways. So that's the contents of the kit. Some of the things I want to cover first is how to manage your clay. So, lost my microphone. So you're going to get this 25 pounds of clay, and it's going to be nice and soft. You want to keep it that way, all right? So try to maintain your little twist tie and don't lose it, and make sure that every time you're working, make sure that you wrap it up tight, twist it, and then get this little plastic tie back on. If you keep this nice and sealed up, you should have no problems. Even at the end of the day, you could just mist it with a little water, you know, and spray it down, and then wrap it back up. If it does get a little stiff, sometimes, and this I probably talk about when we start demoing or whatever, you can poke holes in it with like a tool like this or your paintbrush handle, and then just dribble a little bit of water in those holes and let it sit overnight, and it'll really help soften it up. So you shouldn't have trouble keeping that clay in good condition if you just make sure that you're always wrapping things up. All right. And then for scraps, you know, we're hand building. So all the scraps we're using, don't just throw them on the table and let them sit there for an hour, because then they're going to get too hard to reuse. If you immediately put your little scraps in this bag all the time while you're working, or even if you have a lump of clay that you're working from, put it inside of this bag and cover it up. Don't leave it sit out, because then it just dries out your clay. You do this and you're going to be able to stretch that 25 pounds no problem. So every time you are done working, you know, just put your scraps in there, mist down the scraps with a little bit of water like that, and then wrap it up really tight. All right, and you should have no trouble keeping that. It's something I'll probably reinforce and tell you while I'm doing demos. Okay, and then lastly, what I'm going to talk about is storage of your work. So you should think about, I should actually talk about workspace too. So you should have a nice dedicated workspace. Maybe you don't, maybe you have to use the kitchen table, maybe you have to use the garage, somewhere in the basement, or just on your, even on your bedroom floor or something. But you really do need a nice hard surface that's maybe 2 foot square. I think should be fine. Somewhere in your home you should be able to find, you know, where you can work. Regardless of that, you do have to make sure that you're cleaning up after yourself. You know, clay is, you're gonna, you know, specifically with this piece of canvas, when you roll slabs, I would take that outside and shake it off. Don't do it in the house. You don't want clay dust floating around. I would make it a habit. You can even take a damp sponge and sponge off your canvas outside, but do that stuff outside, and always wipe down your space really well with a damp sponge. You know, wipe off your board with a damp sponge. And I would get like an ice cream pail or a 2-gallon pail, or even some kind of pail of water. Don't use your sink. You don't want clay going down your sink. You want to wash your hands in a pail. So you don't want to plug up your sink with clay scraps. It's not like you can get big chunks down there, but it can like plug drains. So I always think it's a good idea to use some sort of plastic pail, use for your sponge in your hands, and then just dump it outside. That way you're not gonna mess up your plumbing, okay? So I think that's really important. And I think that, do you think of anything else I missed, Rachel? Okay. I'm sure other things will come up, and we can, you know, there's going to be plenty of questions. I know that. And we'll talk about that the first day, and we'll have a meeting twice a week anyway, so I'm sure a lot of things will come up, and we'll take care of those. So that's all I have. Thank you very much.